Hey citizens, and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by Algared. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing fairly well. It's getting warm, but
Yeah,
they're still doing fine.
bit of a scorcher. We had to turn the aircon off to record, so
We
gotta
did.
get this done so we can get the aircon
Yeah.
back on.
Then we'll be going, help me, I'm melting, I'm melting.
Yeah. So yeah, while your guys are freezing in the up over for Christmas, just think of how nice it could be down here.
Indeed. Indeed.
So yeah, they're moving the ISCs. I think they've kind of just knocked them back a couple of hours, or maybe they're overworked or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, this is the last one for the year, so we're going to reassess when they start up again in the new year, and maybe we might have to kick the old stream down the road a couple of hours.
I'm of the opinion, and even though it's not true, I still like the view that, Disco's been watching Inforunners, and the second we stop, he's dropping it.
Yeah. Well, it literally, just so the people know, we raided the Twitch people off, and then the second it dropped, someone posted in YouTube chat, "Oh, ISA's dropped," and we're like, "Oh." we literally would have just done it there and then, but yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, there's a couple of things I want to see in this one. So I also want to find out about the Rambler. I know I'm going to be disappointed. I've had a few people message me already and tell me, but let's just rip off the band-aid, shall we, Algared? Let's go.
Yep. I'll have a look.
Alpha 322 is right around the corner and available for testing now on the public test universe. But arriving with it are 3 newly flyable and drivable vehicles from manufacturers as varied as Aopoa, Origin, and Drake. Let's find out more.
So in Alpha 322, we have 3 new vehicles available, and they cover a huge range of both size and role, and we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about them. Let's start with the most exotic, the Aopoa San'tok.yāi.
I just want to say that skin, someone sent me, the black and red one really speaks to me. Someone sent me a photo of it. It is literally amazing.
I like both of them. The white one's kind of got I don't know, just a unique look to it. I know lots of ships have a white skin, but maybe it's just because it's on the white kind of background as well.
You sound like you're origing out, Algared.
Anyway. I can't deny I do like Origin.
We will be doing buyers guides on these 3 ships as well. We'll probably scatter them out over the next week. So yeah. All right, let's keep going.
The San'tok.yāi is a medium fighter from Aopoa, but it doesn't follow the traditional medium fighter role that we see with human manufacturers. It has, for its size, quite a lot of health and classic.
Yep.
I had said to people it was a medium fighter, and I was being caned. People were saying, "No, it's a heavy fighter. It's a heavy fighter." No. Medium fighter.
It's literally just in the web. Literally says on the website it's a medium.
I know. I know. But people are saying, "Oh, it's a heavy fighter." Well, I'm glad that I've just been vindicated.
Yeah, and high maneuverability, as well as being extremely flashy in both its function and form.
The idea with the alien ships is that we don't want them just to feel alien. We want them to feel different.
I will say with that high maneuverability, Algared, I really want to reach out to some of the previous peers, because that's like kind of where the arrow's at, right? It's highly maneuverable. Now you take that higher maneuverable, put it into a medium like fighter role. That means it goes right up against the Hornet. So does that mean now the Hornet gets pushed out of the Team Battler and this takes over the Team Battler role? So it could really mix up that meta. So yeah,
it could mix up that meta, and I think the difference is I think this will be more fragile compared to the Hornet, which will be tankier and
absolutely
take more of a beating. So you're going to have that speed versus slowness, but
yeah, that's what you get for your speed. You got to be lighter, don't you? So yeah, absolutely agree. All right.
Within their own rights, within that kind of alien spectrum. On the Gatak side of things, we've really kind of tried to make them feel quite industrial, quite strong and chunky. Whereas on the Aopoa side of things, we took more inspiration from the insect form, so we want them to feel a lot faster, a little bit more kind of aggressive and have a bit more attack in their shapes.
When you first see the San'tok.yāi, you'll clearly see the family lineage between...
Real quick before we go into the Cartu'al and that, what do you prefer, Gatak or Syulen? Gatak or Aopoa, because I'm into the Aopoa camp. What about yourself?
I like both. I like that kind of stone monolithic look that they've given with Gatak, but I also still like that traditional Aopoa look.
Yeah.
You know, that was the first look we saw of the Xi'an ship, so it's kind of stuck. So yeah.
Yeah, well, they're the ones that have really got the verticality thing going, but you can obviously see the verticality thing has influenced Gatak, but it's this different thing. Yeah, it's kind of cool. They got their own styles, because you don't see that in a lot of games. As I said during the live stream, most aliens are one-trick ponies.
Yeah, I like also the aesthetic of both. Like the Gatak has kind of a more stone finish look.
Yeah.
Whereas these are, as they just said, kind of more of an insect.
Well, and along that stone look you were saying, it's probably going to come back around into the Raelian too. Now they're working on that. Like they've obviously worked out the styles guides more with the Syulen, so it's going to start to affect the Raelian too. So, yeah. All right. Cartu'al, obviously taking the things off the God, I'm mixing the names up terribly today. San'tok.yāi off that and putting into the old the old stylings. You can see things like how the HUD will come across, the textures, the the angles, like when the Cartu'al gets a rework. And I don't know about you, I was gonna put this out there, you feel free to shoot me down. I hope they go back to the dual cab on this thing, because I think that would put that ship in a completely different place than any other light fighter in the meta, and I think it would really speak to its original role. And I think they changed it to a fighter when they made it, because why would you need a second operator? Because it was a scout. It was actually originally an explorer, and if you read the lore, it was really clear this was their wormhole navigation ship. That's what it was really designed for, and they pivoted from that. And so they may not go back to it, because they may have given that to other ships. But I just loved it. I brought a Cartu'al because of that, and then I melded it because it just turned out to be a fighter.
So many people bought a Cartu'al because of that. But I don't think we'll see them change the Cartu'al to be back to a two-person ship. I think we'll actually see if they want to do that, we'll see a new ship.
Yeah, maybe a variant. Maybe I'm driven. I'm living on copium and hopium. I know that, but I miss that, and I'd love to see it come back around. And a two-seater fighter as well. I could, just from the aliens, like, put it this way, with that high maneuverability, and if you have the ability to access a remote turret, like, think about what the Reliant Core's like, right? You put that onto a Zion, the voice Algared made goes exactly where my brain had already gone. So yeah, Algared, you speak to it. Go ahead.
Oh, you look at the way we gush over the Hurricane with its pilot and gunner routine.
Yeah.
If you've got a highly maneuverable ship, I could see that system working really well as well.
And it offsets the verticality of this ship that makes it easier to hit. So if it's high maneuverable but easy to hit, because obviously that's the problem, right? But if you've got a way to get behind them or shoot them when they're behind you, or shoot them in a way that they're not expecting, that offsets that as well, right? So it kind of rebalances it.
But there is that balance of, the fact that it's more maneuverable does mean it's also going to be harder to hit in that sense.
Yeah. So we're waiting.
When it is hit, I think it's going to be more fragile.
So we need to wait for those flight mechanics as well. I was going to say. Yeah.
And I would really like to see that dual cab come back, but I think we won't. I think we'll see a proper scout be created with that option, or a proper fighter created with that option, rather than go back and remaking the Cartu'al as a two-man ship just because it's more money.
I do not disagree on that front. All right, here we go.
Itself and the Cartu'al, which is the light fighter from Aopoa.
It's their kind of second Xi'an ship that they've made, and it's really bringing kind of a big brother.
They both have two
I really
stages
wanted to stop it there for a second. You can see how they've learned about struts over time. Like that. So you take the strut work on the one on the San'tok.yāi, you can tell they're going to put it back into the other one. So
yeah. And the way that the way when we were looking at the San'tok.yāi the other day, the way that was just so strutless.
Yeah.
The view, there were lines that were there, but they were so minuscule and they didn't impede your view. And at certain angles, they even disappeared because they were more join lines rather than metal struts. It was just it was beautiful.
Right. Landed to the flight pose, and you see that very classic Aopoa flowering transformation from a more horizontal position to the more vertical flight and combat position.
It's still got the kind of nice big transforming kind of style when it transforms from landed mode into flight mode. But we've really tried to kind of push the alien aesthetics a little bit further this time, both interior and exterior. One of the kind of more unique elements, I think, on the San'tok.yāi is its cockpit. Not just the space inside, but actually how you enter it. It's got this really kind of exotic, shall I say, seat that comes down to collect you from the player space, and that kind of all floats down and takes you back into your actual pilot position. One of the things that we really spent quite a bit of time investigating and kind of really trying to kind of nail the visuals on.
Do you notice how the balls now just hover too? Where before they were like sitting in stuff. So they've just like, and even things like the first scout or the Cartu'al just has stairs that hover, and it's like, why do stairs? We can just take the whole chair out, you know? So I actually would fully inspect, unless you think different, Algared, them to take those features and roll them back into the Cartu'al as well, and that awesome HUD that it has.
Yeah, look, we were talking about that same type of thing. Certainly, we talked about the HUD when we're looking at the first view the other day. I fully expect to see that HUD get transferred across. I'd love to see the seats axis get transferred across as well, so there's a closer unity with those two ships. I could see the old method where it was kind of the balls were kind of fitted into the dashboard, almost being something you'd see MISC do, where they to show that hybrid.
Agreed.
Tech.
Yeah.
But for the Cartu'al to have that kind of almost human / Xi'an tech thing feels more a combination rather than an individual specific Xi'an company. So I'd like to see that transfer made. But
true. All right.
Was the actual interactions with the cockpit. We wanted to make sure we weren't stepping on the toes of what we did in the Gatak's cockpit, and it needed to be like its own unique thing. Elwin and the Austin team kind of really nailed that visually. It's got these really nice sort of slate buttons with all the Xi'an text in it. And one of the things we were really keen to do with kind of all of our alien ships is remove a lot of that human element. They may be made to be human compatible, but we really wanted them to feel like their native race was the people that built it, and that's who it was made for, as number one. And so we've got these kind of really nice interactive tablets with all the Xi'an text on them.
I think
a number of paints coming out with the.
I think that tells us they are going to do that to the Cartu'al, to make it more Xi'an.
San'tok.yāi, they are still currently just being developed and signed off as we're filming this now. Again, we tried to kind of do something not necessarily kind of completely new, but kind of just push the bar slightly with what we're trying to do. It's that kind of fine thing where alien doesn't always mean fancy and unique, but we do want it to feel a little bit different to what our kind of human races are. It's very obvious when you see the silhouette of the ship and when you see it in flight what it is, but the paints is kind of that little icing on top, and also it kind of gives that really nice read when you get up and close and personal with it.
The San'tok.yāi is a fighter through and through. It really excels at that. It doesn't have any secret hidden features, but it does have all of our latest tech and features within it, such as weapon racks, personal storage, and accessible components.
Yeah,
so this ship is...
that's something we did miss in our first impressions. They are not components on the bottom. They're actually weapon racks.
I did notice that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Really for those who prize maneuverability and position in combat. The firepower of the ship is pretty good for its size, but its real strength is its maneuverability. So that's the San'tok.yāi, available in 322, and we think it's going to be a great addition to our lineup of fighters and alien ships. Just like the other ones, it's great for those players who want that role, but just want something a bit more stylish and exotic. From there, let's go from space combat and atmospheric combat down to the surface and talk about the Origin X1 series.
The X1 is Origin's first hoverbiking game. It's their kind of answer to some of the other hoverbikes we've already got from different manufacturers, like the Nox, the Dragonfly. This bike was kind of developed alongside the 400i in its concept phase, and the idea was that this is that kind of classic, smaller kind of day vehicle that you can take out from your big, exciting explorer ship. Those two kind of go hand in hand. It has its own little garage at the front.
So one thing I noticed here, Algared, is that gun makes it like it's very awkward to park on the 400i.
It was very close to the. It may have been built from 400i,
but not built for a 400i with a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like whoever put this in the ship didn't account for the gun when they were doing it. That looks
That
there's
looks too
literally
big.
shadows onto the. Yeah, it looks too big.
And I know we talked about it the other day, but well, we talked about it, but we talked about that the cab, the whole thing just feels like it should be an enclosed cab.
Yeah,
I know it's not.
It's
but it just feels
clearly
like.
it's clearly a design decision of some description we'll see down the line. But it just would have been really nice to have one bike that was fully enclosed, because then you'd have a bike that's just offset from all the others. And even then, Algared, it didn't have to be all the X1s. It would have been nice if it was
No.
just like you could have
Well-
just made it the default one, and then you've still
Yeah.
got one for shooting, you've still got one for racing. It would have just given the normal X1 a differentiator,
What I think would have made it stand out as being good is that it would have been an exploration vehicle, because you could have gone to those inhospitable areas.
Yeah.
And been in an enclosed cab.
And that's-
Now I know,
And that's a
getting
nice
into
thing,
the-
because right now you've really just got the X1 and the Force, and the Force is just an upgraded X1, so
Yep.
it almost kills the normal X1 straight away, where it would have given the X1 more of a reason to exist, because you would have had your Explorer, your Combat, and your Racing, and you don't get that now, so yeah.
Yeah, so it would have been just something slightly different, and it would have helped with the exploration a little bit more. Now I know the way it fits into the 400i, you'd still have to wear your spacesuit if you're in an inhospitable area to get out and get into the X1. But
You could even, I had people saying that they reckon it's because of like heavy armor and stuff, but when we looked at this on the impressions video that we did, we did 2 takes. I had a heavy helmet on, and you could clearly see that it would go over the top. So
and
maybe
you could clearly see you weren't meant to be wearing heavy armor
but
in
there
the X1.
was certain helmets, like the Centurion ones, like anything with a big fin, it would have gone through the cab. But you could have just made it too that you have a way to take your helmet off and store it, like in there somehow or whatever. I don't know. Maybe that's why. Maybe myriad of reasons why that they.
Or you just make it that you don't wear heavy armor when you're doing exploration.
Yeah. Well, eventually, I don't think you will be able to wear heavy
No.
armor in a bike. Let's be honest. All right.
Front of the 400i, and it really just allows you to, once you've landed on planet, you can then kind of leave everything back in your ship and go out and explore and kind of chase down the thrills of the planet on a nice little hover bike.
I'm sure the more enterprising of you out there will be finding all different ways of getting these into places they shouldn't be, such as the upcoming distribution centres.
I think one of the things that's been kind of super nice to see as the bike's kind of gone through its development is really selling the idea of this bike being a hover bike. We've got a lot of VFX and lighting going in from the teams, really selling it that it does feel like a bike in the future. We've got these nice brake lights at the rear, we've got the kind of front lights, and one of my favourite bits on it is actually the cockpit, the kind of like the driver's space. The dashboard in there looks super nice, really sleek, kind of classic Origin, and it all flows really nicely with the rest of the shapes.
The X1 series is a series of 3 bikes that allow Origin to have their own edge of the market in terms of hover bikes and to have 3 different play styles within them. With the X1 Force, this is designed to aid in ground combat, allowing you to be on a speedy, small profile target with some shielding to allow you to absorb a few hits and help engage combat. And then we have the Velocity, which removes the weapon hardpoint and instead gains speed. Whilst tuning is underway at the time of recording, we intend the X1 Velocity to be a competitor to the Nox, and both of those are designed to be faster than the Dragonfly, which is more utilitarian. So the Velocity is a great addition to the ground racing community and will be right at home in all the ground racing tracks.
So the Nox has actually been stated to be like an urban racer, so that means that this is more urban. I still would argue then that the Dragonfly is the better bike. Because
Dragonfly, I think, I kind of agree, because I think with that more utility, it's more meant for the rough and tumble. But I also think, going back to the discussion we were just having about armor, the Dragonfly would be the one I'd expect you to be able to get on and wear heavier armor.
Agreed.
Whereas the other bikes are ones you are going to be wearing a flight suit rather than.
And you've got more flexibility in the Dragonfly. So you've got 2 weapons, not 1. You've got the ability to take an extra passenger and cargo. No other ship offers all 3 of those. Or ships, I should say, land vehicle. And if you look at all the others, they split them up. So you've got like even the Ranger. Like the Ranger has cargo, racing, and a gun. It doesn't have all 3, and I think they kind of made the mistake with the Dragonfly and sold it as it was, and now they're kind of stuck there, and just nothing competes with the Dragonfly. The Dragonfly is the best ground vehicle, or best hover bike, I should say, in my opinion. I just don't think you're going to be able to beat it, and it's still the first one that came along. So,
well, as I said, they're planning it that it's going to be slower, and I think that will be the downside of a Dragonfly.
Yes, but
like
also the Dragonfly is considered to be the 4x4. Right, so it's the off-road version. Now, you tell me, Algared, is there more city roads, or is there more?
Well,
you know what I mean?
Moment.
Well, yeah, there will be roads eventually, right? But that also means you're limited to the roads. You have to follow the road. Dragonflies can be better in a combat situation because you can just go off and go wherever you want, right? And it already when you get off road on the EPTU when we were driving this thing, I noticed it was noticeably slower than the Dragonfly. Well, just in my opinion. But
look,
we'll see.
My thought of a Dragonfly was it was not just built as a bike, but built as a snub ship.
Yep.
So it was kind of in that weird in-between space, whereas others seem to be built more as bikes. Now, I know people have taken their Noxes and things and say I can fly them in space as well, but my impression was the Dragonfly was the only one that was supposed to be able to do space flight plus act as a bike, whereas the others are more literally just supposed to be just ground vehicles. Now I could be wrong.
I think it's changed now. I think all hover bikes are just the same as the Dragonfly. The difference, Algared, would be the Ranger. A Ranger is just the ground one. Yeah. All right.
The one with wheels. Yeah.
The base X1 is there to provide an option for those of you who don't like the Nox or just don't like whatever aesthetic you think Drake users have. And speaking of Drake aesthetics, that moves us nicely on to the last ship of 322, the Drake Cutter Rambler.
The Cutter Rambler is our 3rd variant of the Cutter series, and it kind of rounds off the series as a whole.
As we talked about at CitizenCon, the Drake Cutter family was always designed as a family of 3, and we've shown you the base one and the Scout. The Rambler is the 3rd one, and it is designed from the start to be the more fleshed out premium starter explorer combination of the 3. I know Premium and Drake might be a bit of a weird juxtaposition there.
They are a very functional manufacturer and no frills manufacturer. That really kind of is sold nicely on the interior space. We've sacrificed some of the rear cargo space for the larger habitation.
This allows extra space for both a suit locker, a food machine, and somewhere to eat that food and a nice little table to chill at.
But even within that habitation, you can see how they've moved the bulkhead back one, they've moved the bathroom, they've opened up this nice space, and then they put, a seat, a desk, a little jump seat, and the bare minimum you need as a pilot going out and exploring our universe. We want to make sure there was visually some differences on the exterior. So we've got the kind of visual-only differences, such as the kind of like the modified rear section. We've also got the kind of more functional stuff. So on top, it's got the extended fuel tank. Visually, we kind of lent into the idea of having your Winnebago or your camper van or whatever it might be, and it's got this kind of like roof rack aesthetic, but it's actually kind of stores all the extra kind of fuel for the extended fuel tanks. And then as with the Scout, we've got the change in the thrusters, and again, we've got a unique set of thrusters on a new nacelles on each side that really help kind of just break up that silhouette.
All right, that's really nice thrusters.
Set of thrusters on a new nacelles on each.
Right. So, what I heard, Algared, you tell me if I'm wrong here, but I heard that this is an advanced starter by Drake. That's what I heard. Did you hear any different?
Premium. I'm hearing premium explorer ship, advanced starter. Yeah.
So does that mean we've been cheated in a way? Because, well, look at Consulted Outland. We've got a Mustang and we've got a Nomad. In this case, we just get the same ship upgraded, which does explain the nose frill thing that they kind of talked about. But I feel slightly cheated, don't you? Ever so a little bit.
I think part of what they're trying to go for here would be closer to the Mustang and the Mustang better.
Okay.
So it's that type of difference.
Well, if we actually break it down to gameplay terms, you're losing 2 SCU of cargo, and the gameplay you are gaining is an extra fuel tank and a suit locker, because
And if you look,
a table and a seat do nothing.
but then you're looking at the Mustang versus the Mustang Beta, and what are you losing on the Mustang Beta?
A bed and all that
You're
stuff.
losing, well, you're gaining the bed, but you're losing cargo because it takes up a full cargo capacity. So
again,
there's a yin and yang there.
There's no reason they can't go back to the Mustangs and update them, though. So we'll see what happens in time there. But specifically for this one, they talk like this is an advanced starter. And
I do give it that kind of spiel as being, when I talk premium, you're talking, above and beyond.
But realistically, it's only $5 more than the cutter. So maybe they're pitching it like that, but okay, how do I put this? It's only $5 more. It would need to be like $20 more to be a real advanced starter. That, or it is literally the cheapest advanced starter in the game, but that's kind of weird because it actually puts it well, actually it does balance out because it's cheaper than the 315p. It's cheaper than the Avenger by $5. Yeah, it kind of does balance out, but it also makes the cutter itself the most expensive starter. So it is right in that middle gap, I guess, and I guess that's probably why they've done it, because
I think it balances out. Like, yes, it might have the more gameplay options in terms of exploration and stuff, but you're also losing cargo capacity. So yes, they've increased that living space. They've added the table. We knew they were adding the table. We did think when we were looking at the view the other day that they'd got rid of the bed, but clearly the bed's there. We were thinking, oh, that's just benches there.
I think they just took the mattress off in the image that we saw, so that's probably what it was. So
it certainly didn't look like a bed on the image we were looking at, and that kind of was whoa. But I still think it's a nice looking. It is a nice looking interior, and it clearly is one you could easily go out with a friend because you've got the jump seat, and then you could actually rotate who's the pilot and who's other stuff. So I could see value.
Yeah, personally, I don't see the added benefit in giving up SCU for range, because most starters, you start the game, you play around the planet you're on, and then you would jump from that to another ship. Now, you tell me, would you jump from a cutter to an advanced cutter, or would you jump to a completely ship differently, to a different role, more cargo, whatever? And I think that, I just don't see people doing that. So I think this ship is almost killed itself in a way, unless you can somehow upgrade from the normal cutter to this in game, like there's a trade-in option or something. I just don't. It's a very specific use case, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, look, I think there's a value in this ship for, say, being combined with, a mothership, and being a jump point navigation ship, especially if those fins at the back really are going to help with navigation or manoeuvring, because that'd be the type of thing you'd want in a jump point.
Fortunately, I think they're just really cool now.
But
everything I looked at this ship before has all changed. If you look at the images that were leaked of it, it looked like there was some form of turret or something on top of it. It just turned into a fuel scoop now. So they've either drastically pivoted from what this was going to be, or and designed something else, or no, and that's what it feels like to me. Because if you look at the first two images of this thing that was leaked, and then look at this, there are major changes to the front area of this ship that just all removed. That said, I love the look of it. I love the thruster. This is easily the coolest thruster thing. The Scout obviously just got the two medium ones. The normal cutter got the big one, and this got four little ones. I really kind of like that. If I was buying a cutter, I would consider buying this one. But I generally think the most useful one of the cutters now is the base variant that came out last year. It just does 4 cargo. It's simple. It gets you into the game. You play and you upgrade from there. And I wouldn't upgrade into this. It really comes into that. I'd be more likely to change into something completely different. That's got even more cargo or more combat, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And you'd have to be really into wanting to get to other places, like you really into that exploration, like and not have enough grind potential. And again, if you're not into grinding, you would be into this game. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, it's just a bit weird. I mean, anyway, I'll keep going.
That really help kind of just break up that silhouette a little bit more variation, with the Rambler being kind of a longer range or an extended range vehicle. I think having the kind of like the slightly smaller, they look a little bit more efficient on the engines rather than these great big kind of individual engines. You've got these slightly smaller, more of them individual thrusters. I'm very happy with the Rambler. One of the things that we kind of really tried to lean into when we were developing the Rambler was Drake's kind of mentality towards building their ships. I think it kind of ticked that box of exactly what Drake would do. They've got this chassis, they want to make somewhere you can spend a bit more time in, somewhere that's...
So here's an example of something I find slightly superfluous, right? They have a table there that you can sit down, and they have a seat right next to it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you just put a back on the stool that you can fold up, and it's a seat and a table?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't like it. They've doubled down, and it just seems like, what can we add to make this make sense or add to it? And it just seems superfluous to me. Yeah. Why would you have? And not only that, you could also have made it so you sit down with your back towards the table.
I was about to say, why not make it so you just sit with your back either at the table, or
you could even have the table. You could have the table fold up or fold down or something like that, and you just push the thing back. Like, and then you've got a bigger one. If they'd made it, like, they could have literally used that space and put a table in for two, you know, and then have it fold back so it's a table for one. I don't know, just little small things like that. And again, the suit locker, I want to know what that's for. Like, again, it's there, but they don't tell you why it's there. They don't give you the reason for it to exist. They don't. Again, like, you can't use a vehicle in this thing because you've only got 2 SCU in the back. Like, you see where I'm coming from? Like, I think
the fact that they're building it as an exploration vehicle, the fact, I think, gives credence to why you have a suit locker there. So, especially if we bring in the concept of, when they bring in that idea of you can't fly ships wearing your heavy armor. Or wearing your armor, so you fly your ships in a jumpsuit.
That's true.
If they stick to that, you are going to want a place to put your armor if you're going out exploring.
Yep, it'll help with bunker runs in that case, because you could pick up the heavy armor. Yeah, okay. I
can see a value for a suit locker in a ship that's billing itself as an exploration ship. So,
all right,
a little bit more comfortable, but they're still kind of working to that Drake budget and design ethos. So I'm very happy with how it turned out.
The Rambler really takes the base cutter to the next level in terms of living on board. I think we all saw that when the cutter came out, but it was very much more of a camper van than an RV, which is what the Rambler is. So that's a wrap-up of all the new vehicles coming to the Persistent Universe in 3.22. And as always, we look forward to seeing you all use them and abuse them in all different ways in the live game.
Now, of course, Alpha 3.22 comes with more than just vehicles. There's structural salvage, openable cargo containers, new derelict settlements, new hairs for players, new maps for Arena Commander, and more. But since this is our last episode of the year, we have a tradition here at ISC of looking back at everything that's happened the last 12 months and reliving some of our favorite moments. And, well, look, 2023 was good. Great, even if you gloss over that little rough patch in the middle there. But heading into the new year, all that I can really think about is everything that's on the horizon that's about to make 2024 the biggest and baddest year of our project yet. So if it's all right with you, I'd like to indulge myself, maybe switch out my CIG cap and put my backer hat on, and tell you what has me excited about this next year for the Persistent Universe in a segment that I'm calling Disco Lando's Star Citizen 2020 Forecast. Now, without talking specific dates, let's discuss what's being targeted and currently on track for release in just the first half of 2024, starting with Master Modes, the new way to pilot and operate ships we've been discussing since CitizenCon 2952. Now, whether that's Every ship or a staggered rollout of groups of vehicles depends on how work progresses, but it's a major change to the way spaceships operate in the persistent universe, and you can be sure that we'll update on it more when the time comes.
So reworking that entire flight system is a big thing.
Yeah,
I don't know
and
what else to say to that, but it's huge.
yeah, it affects every single solitary ship, and that's going to be a massive job.
Yeah, long time coming.
So, yeah.
And of course, when your ships aren't in flight, they can be stored in the newly persistent hangars that are arriving with freight elevators, freight kiosks, and the new cargo transaction system that we've shared on.
I can be quietly selfish here, Algared. This will make reviews a lot easier for me and you. We won't have to fly down to those random locations
Right.
anymore. Yeah.
Oh, look, I'm looking forward to that as well. You know, I think everyone's looking forward to those,
Yeah. Then
those freight
either
elevators.
load them into your ship, not having to go out. Yeah, it's going to make vehicles go to another level, literally. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Both ISC and this year's CitizenCon. Now, all combined, they form the next major evolution of cargo careers and will also have far-reaching, broader implications for the entire Star Citizen experience. And then outside of vehicles and hangars, there's also a variety of FPS combat improvements coming to the first half of 2024, with improvements to reloading, the weapon wear and misfire system, scopes and dynamic crosshairs and charge and drain, and even more we'll be able to show you once we return.
So that'll kind of show us a little bit of what Squadron 42 is going to be like the controls and stuff. So, like, you know, I had someone new jump into the game the other day and they said, you know, things are a little clunky still. And I'm like, yeah. But we'll see. As things tightens up, it'll be really good to see.
I still find it strange when people watch even things on Squadron 42 and say, oh, it's still lagging. You think, yeah, but it's not optimized.
Well, they don't understand. Most people just don't see games in that state. You know, they go into a console, you know, they're a console gamer, they go into a shop and they buy a disc and put it in and they're really pissed off when it's buggy, you know, but that's, you know. Right.
I got to say, though, the way they were rolling the dice was quite unique.
Did they hit a crit? We'll have to find out.
In the new year. And then outside of strictly FPS combat, there are new player character features coming, like the updates to the EVA system, the visor and lens system, loot screens, default item interactions and the personal interaction system, and there's even new shopping and mission apps in development now. And while we're talking about apps, the first half of 2024 is also currently scheduled to see the arrival of our new character customizer with things like tattoos, piercings, scars, and yes, Virginia, it's true, beards. And as for how many and of what kind...
Do you get the Virginia reference?
He did.
No, do you get the Virginia reference? Because I don't.
It is a movie, but I can't remember.
Is he talking about John Carter? Is that who he's trying to explain? John Carter?
I'm not sure.
Virginia. That's the only one I can think of, but I don't know what he's talking about there. But anyway, maybe it's a friend or something. Anyway.
Only Andre knows for sure, but you can bet we're going to ask him sometime around March. And then...
That will be big. Like, think about how people have been carrying on about hair and stuff like that's putting the whole thing in. We've been for beards for years. Yeah.
The go-day?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
We can even do, well, if you look at Disco there, even me, I've got a bit of silver here. You can do the two-tone beards and stuff. You're going to be able to make yourself look like yourself, you know. Kind of cool. See what people come up with, like people go through and, you know, make all their favorite celebrities or content creators and stuff like that. And if we eventually get that hex code thing too, that'll be sick because then you can just like play as your favorite person, so to speak.
Of course, if you're in game, there's also a little thing called Mobiglass and an awfully big thing called Star Map,
which I think everyone's looking forward to. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That was my number one feature I wanted for this year. Obviously, we didn't get it, but on the card for next. So
yeah. They're both getting their big updates in the first half of next year. And have I mentioned those enormous distribution centers that'll be the new microcosm homes for every gameplay and mission feature that exists in Star Citizen, as well as the 4, 5, 6, let's just say several new and updated.
I think that along with the Capture the Idris thing will bring so many more people into the game when it hits.
Even if it didn't have Capture the Idris, those new outposts and underground bunkers would have added so much more. But Capture the Idris along with that, man,
sounds like it's a really multi-crew bunker experience, so to speak. That's what it feels like. Yeah,
it does indeed.
vehicles that are making their way to the persistent universe in just the first 6 months of 2024? I did, just now. Now you can check those off. Whew. Okay, so real talk. CIG hat back on. Now, you're probably looking at your screen and saying to yourself, what about Pyro and 4.0? Well, don't fret. The things that we just covered are those that aren't too dependent on continuing foundational tech work like server meshing. So we feel pretty confident in targeting everything that we just shared for the first 6 months. But when it comes to something as enormous as the complete Pyro system,
that's the break of the dam. What we've been talking about for years, right? That like all that shit just transferring over, and now what he's about to do, like, and it's kind of like what Space Tomato has said a few times, is it's going to be multiple dams breaking. That's the stuff in the first 6 months, and then like when server meshing hits, there'll be even more. And I think that's what he's about to say here, unless you think different.
I have a feeling he is as well.
Yeah.
Alpha 4.0, well, that's where the new preview channel comes into play. Now that said, Alpha 4.0 is currently targeting a summer 2024 release, but that won't mean that you have to wait until then to play it or learn more about it. That's because in 2024, we'll continue doing play tests like the one we just completed, and you'll be able to follow along with its development firsthand on the preview channel. That's the planets, moons, space stations, settlements, and outlaw lifestyle that comes within the Pyro system, but also an entire host of additional new features, content, and quality of life improvements like, fully functional jump points, the new quantum travel system, new vehicle HUD and MFD work, resource management.
So jump points means essentially is the going between systems. That's server meshing, server
meshing. And once they get back done, like I don't think we're just going to see Pyro. We're going to see suddenly a plethora of planets. The systems will be popping up all over the place.
I think Pyro then in rapid succession. I don't think that'll all hit in one hit because you can spread that out. You can spread that out so people, have things to do. So they wouldn't just go here, have 100 planets. They'll
no, but it'll be very soon after that we'll get Pyro, and then very soon after that we'll get another system and another system.
Every 3 months. Every 3 months.
We'll see them rolling out very quickly.
Yeah, I'd say every 3 months. So
management, hacking, and much, much more, all being worked on in tandem. The preview channel will let you and
actually, I'm just going to go back again because I think hang on.
More, all improvements like, fully functional jump points, the new quantum travel system, new vehicle HUD and MFD work, resource management, hacking, and much, much more, all being worked on in tandem.
So resource management, hacking, that's so many different gameplays coming in. Breaking of the dam. That's all I want to say.
The preview channel will let you and us test 4.0 together while maintaining the stability of the persistent universe with all those other great additions we just discussed. And then, in the summer of 2024, 2 become 1, and we can avoid that thing that didn't quite go the way that we'd hoped.
The holiday live stream?
And then, just
Paul
because we're
laughing.
cheeky, there are still some
Paul laughing from here. Anyway.
things better left for you to discover on your own. And don't forget, we haven't even talked about the back half of the year yet. All in all, 2024 is shaping up to be the watershed year for Star Citizen. And if we've learned anything this year, it's that through the trials of 3.18 to the successes of CitizenCon and everything in between, before that and coming up next, Star Citizen is a project that continues to iterate, to evolve, and to embody an experience you simply can't find anywhere else, whether that's in the universe or within our community that makes all this possible. So thank you for helping us reach the heights that we have, and buckle up for the journey still ahead. We're in for one hell of a year. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next year.
That kind of told me that is the big year, right? That is not like obviously every year is bigger than the year before, right? But the one we've been waiting for, that's next year. That's the even you and I've called it the big one, right? That's the big year. Whether even if Squadron 42 is not in that year, it's still a big one for Star Citizen.
Look, I think everything shows that, and I think it is the breaking of a dam. That all those slow, the last year, I don't know, last year people were saying, or this year people were saying it's been a slow year.
Well,
You know, their pairs really broke the system. It wasn't working as well as we wanted. All that stuff. It was a slow year.
you're going to
But all of
see
that,
a plethora of people joining the game. You're going to see so many new content creators coming out of the woodwork. You are going to see we're already seeing it since we're already seeing that since CitizenCon.
Yeah.
You know?
And the reason we'll see that is because all that slow year of those last 2 slow years has been back end. It's been under the hood stuff, and now the hood's humming, and we're starting to see the front end stuff.
Yeah.
Just come through. The breaking of a dam, as you've said, and as Space would call it.
Yep.
I think we'll see.
We are
the weirs breaking and the dams are breaking. It's just going to keep coming.
Yeah, we're not going to be hard pressed for content, put it that way. You know, all those new gameplay things coming online, we're going to have heaps of stuff to talk about. People are going to have heaps of things to play. So, yeah, we're hitting the stride, so to speak. So yeah.
Yep. So,
all right. I think we can leave it there. Yeah, I don't think we've kind of got anything else we need to add.
No, I think it's just bodes are good things to come, and it's a nice way to end the year, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. With that, then, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And thank you to everyone that went that extra mile at the end of the video in the credits on Patreon. All right. He's been Algared. I've been Execute.
He's been Execute, and we're out of here.
Bye. Oh, see you, citizens.
Remember that.